Dr. Dhru B is on the show today.
And you are live.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Wine Wednesday. I am your host with the mostest, Damon Johnson, DJ Realty Solutions. And I am still working on giving up and delegating some of these hats and titles, but it won't be this week. This week, we have a special guest. First of all, he's a V friend before anything else. So all the other titles and accolades, there's only one that really matters, and he's a V friend. We both worship at the Church of Vayner, so here we go. But Dr. Dhru B is a business and leadership coach. He has a thriving business based out of Washington, D.C. He is also, that I didn't even know until VCon, a very accomplished photographer and videographer. Watch out, Trip. But he does a lot of the models, so he ain't got nothing to worry about with me. I can't fit in nothing. But I met, it was like we became fast friends. You know how you meet people online and y'all just click? He'll explain himself in a second, but that's what happened for me. You know, I'm a great judge of character. But no, we just clicked right away. Weird side note, I click with a lot of East Coast people, which is very weird, which has always been strange to me. Even in college, a lot of my friends were from New York and DC. My mom always said, because I thought I was grown, because y'all were more known as the kids who were way more advanced than us Midwest slowpokes.
I don't know about advanced.
Well, yeah, welcome to the show, Dr. Dhru. You know, I didn't know you were a doctor. Maybe you told me, I just did, it went over my head.
Nah, I probably didn't tell. I don't talk about it like that. It's part of my brand, but I don't talk about it like that. It's not. I'm not one of those people. Just Dhru. That's
so you can't give me a diagnosis right now, or
absolutely not. No. I'm not that kind of doctor either. That's the other part of it. I'm definitely not a medical doctor. If I was a medical doctor, I would be successful to my parents, and I'm not. So that's all good.
You know what? We have to be successful for ourselves, because listen,
100%.
I'm 30 hours short from my doctorate. You couldn't throw me back to school. I was a school teacher. You couldn't throw. Listen, Linda, my ADHD didn't took over. I can't sit still that long anymore. It's a no. So we're going to get right into it. How did your parents react when you said, guess what? I'm not going to be a doctor or a lawyer. I'm going to be a business coach. They were like, shit.
Basically, I mean, my dad doesn't curse, but his reaction was pretty much the equivalent of that, right? It was like, is there money in that? That's his first question, right? And then second question is, we wasted all this money, you know, and time on you, and you wasted all this time on yourself, and blah blah blah. You know, that's the Indian mentality, though, right? Because my brother's an actual medical doctor, so he's the successful one. So it's always like that. It's just, you know, Indian parents. Man, Indian parents, you can't even just.
That's a whole nother show.
That's a whole nother genre of conversation right there. Just is that growing up with that generational trauma is hilarious. It's dark, but it's hilarious, right? There's a comedian.
You talking about trauma?
You know the comedian Jimmy O Yang, the guy from
yeah,
he's from Silicon Valley, right? So I was watching his special the other night. It was just a YouTube clip of it, but it was funny. He was like, his girlfriend was talking about love languages, right? And she was like, she said words of affirmation. He started laughing. He's like, words of affirmation. He's like, I've never heard those in my life, right? He's like, my parents' love language was, it was, well, oh shit, I forgot what he said now, but it was basically like, it was threats, essentially, right? Threats of violence. That's what their words of affirmation was.
Got it. No, Trip and I and another friend, Hassan Dogman, Hassan is Lebanese? Yeah, Hassan is Lebanese. We went to see Hassan Minaj. Was that last summer? 2 summers ago? My God. You talking about the audience was all brown. He was letting... I guess it's the thing. I didn't know that you either are a doctor, but then it's like a step below a doctor, but above a nurse, that a lot of people say, oh, I passed this test. So they say they're like a doctor, but they really aren't. And he was just calling people out. It was
the deal.
Yes. Yeah. He was like, a lot of y'all are this, but let me see your actual paperwork. And they were like, crickets. But when we pulled up, I was like, and they looked at us, and then we looked at them. I was like, I don't know what ethnicity I thought he was. I knew he was funny. I knew that Gary loved him. His videographer, used to work for Gary. So, once you team Gary, it's like, I'm gonna support whatever.
Yeah.
But the audience was hilarious. They were all doctors or the DOs.
Yep.
And he said, none of the rest of y'all even matter. So, y'all can get out.
So technically DOs are doctors, right? But they're a different kind of, they're not MDs. So there's
Okay.
MD, then there's DO, then there's like all the nurses, right? That's the level of kind of quote unquote respect that they get. But DO is a different kind of degree, but it's still technically a doctor. But in the Indian community, they always make fun of DOs. That's just the way it is.
Got it. Because my doctor growing up was Indian, and then I got a white doctor. My mama was like, I don't know about this. And I remember her making a face. I was in junior high going to high school, and you got to get another physical. And it was Dr. Pulikat. He's everybody's doctor in Pontiac. It was just like, it was a thing. And so when he was ready to retire, I mean, you had grown men coming to see this guy because that was the only doctor that everybody knew who was really good. Him and Dr. Thomas, they're both Indian. And so when they were retiring, people were like this, what the hell do we do now? Because you just get used to, and I've seen people in hospitals like, I want an Indian doctor. My grandma used to be like that. I want an Indian doctor. I'm like, you can't say that out loud. She was like, I don't care, I'm old. But you know what? All my doctors have been foreign now that I think about it. My allergist, my eye doctor, my general practitioner. Michigan, you're gonna get an Indian doctor. You get either Indian doctor or a Middle Eastern doctor. And that's what people pretty much here. That's what everybody usually. I know for Black people, I can speak for Black people right now. We will request an Indian doctor. We'll be like, Patel not available. I can't get nobody else.
In DC, it's similar. It's an Asian, Indian, but then it's also Jewish in this area too.
Okay,
Jewish doctors are common in this area, very common
because
in the DC area.
think it just gives us a sense of, I know they paid attention in school. It's like, I know his parents or her parents were on it. I already know she's gonna tell me what's wrong with me.
Well, because the thing is,
so weird.
For us, it's not just about graduating or completing the class or whatever, right? The degree. We had to keep our GPA up. It's like, I remember growing up, man, my parents would be like, I would have all straight A's and then have like 1B or 1A minus. And my dad, like, what happened there? Like I remember one example. I got a 99 out of 100 in this exam, right, in class. And I was the highest score in the class by like 8 points. So the next highest score was a 91, right? I took it home to my dad. I was like, look, I got the highest score in class. He's like, that's not 100. What happened to that point? And I was like, I don't even know, man. He's like, talk to the teacher, get that fixed, because whatever. I'm like, maybe they made a mistake. And I was like, so then I'm that kid who was arguing over 1 point.
No,
I'm that kid.
We were the kids like, I got a 95, like, hey, I thought I was gonna get a B and I really got an A. So when you told them, were you already done with like your bachelor's, headed into your master's, or where were you as far as, I value your opinion, but I can afford to live on my own now?
Oh, I was already done with all school.
You were done. Okay.
Yeah, I was already done with all that stuff. So I was working full time. I was actually working. So funny or not, I was working in IT at the time. Because just, why not hit all the dim, situation there.
Yeah. Hey, IT pays the bills, especially now, because I'm the person that's like, I'll ask Trip what's that button for?
Well, that's why I did it, right? Because it paid good money, but I just wasn't happy, right?
Got it.
And in the course of doing that work, though, because I was in project management, I wasn't on the technical side, right? I knew enough technical stuff to be dangerous and be able to communicate with the business side. So I was like a liaison between the business and the technical team.
Okay.
And so in doing that, I had my team of technical experts, and I was working with them and translating for them and stuff. But then I was growing my team and building it up, and I was like, I really enjoy this leadership stuff. I built a really strong team. And I moved people around as I needed to and that kind of thing. And other people in the organization were asking me like, hey, can you do that with our team too? Because your team's happy and like actually doing good work. And so I did it for like all the bunch of teams in my whole organization. And then they were like, you can do this as a business. And I was like, oh, well, maybe I could. And that's when I got into coaching and like team coaching and like agile coaching and stuff like that. And then I got into leadership and executive coaching because it just made the next level up. And business was a natural following there because I had my own business for a long time before that and just working through it. And yeah.
Cool. I've been to a number of leadership classes, courses, and they all have been, decent. I think one thing that I know that I pull away, what I noticed was different about you excuse me, I'm drinking a Monster. I used to drink liquor on the show. My tolerance, we talked
Oh
about
yeah.
this. My
Yep.
tolerance is terrible now. I'm like grandpa with liquor. I can't anymore. It's either water, Monster, or a pop or
Water.
something. I can't. I mean, the liquor don't drink. It's called Water Wednesday now. What I noticed and what I loved about your whole approach to coaching leadership that is different from anything I've experienced, and sort of on the lines of with Gary, you're a human being first. You
You have
weren't
to.
like a lot of coaches will say, Damon, how much money do you make now? And what do you want to make in 6 months? I'm like, I don't know if I paid my light bill yet. Or, me and Trip were just talking about this. I'm not a money social media real estate person. I know what I need to make every month. I know what would be nice to make, but I don't base my business around, and that's just for me. I don't base my business around, oh, I got to clear 50 grand every month,
Right.
or I'm a disappointment to myself. So that's what I loved about your approach when we first met and first started talking. Now, once did you go, Damon, this is how much I am? And I'm usually that person, be like, how much are you? You never were like, this is how much I am. I can get you dialed in on this Zoom call and this, and that's that. You were actually concerned about me as a person, what makes me tick, what do I do, who am I talking to, what's going to really work. Because I think with a lot of business and leadership coaches, the classes will be great, but the audience they're delivering it to, because I've been on the other end too, where I've had bosses who've been to great leadership things and they come back from the meeting and we are waiting like, so what happened? And they don't say anything. I said, well, shit, why did you went on the retreat for 2 weeks and you came back and you just as mean, if not meaner than ever. So maybe you need to coach the coaches.
I mean, so I thank you first of all. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. That's flattering. But I do coach coaches actually. So one of my clients is coaches, and then I actually teach coaches at Georgetown. That's where I went to school, where I got my certification. But I mean, what you said is extremely important, right? Because too many people out there. First of all, there's no regulation around coaching, so anybody can wake up tomorrow and be like, I'm going to be a coach, and then I'm a coach now, and I'm going to advertise as a coach, right? They can do that, and there's no regulation around that, which is bad. Because there's a lot of honestly people who just have no idea what they're doing that call themselves a coach out there, right? And just because just because you have a Facebook account doesn't mean you're a marketing coach. Same thing is just like just because you happen to have a business doesn't mean you're a business coach. And so people out there are like, oh, well, they assume what people's goals are. Like I had a client a while ago, and he was a financial advisor, and he was like, oh, my goal is to make $1 million next year. I'm like, all right, why? He's like, what do you mean why? And I think I told you the story when we were in a VCon. He's like, why? And I'm like, he's like, what do you mean why? It's $1 million. Like, why do you want to make $1 million? He's like, what do you mean why? It's $1 million. I'm like, yeah, but why do you personally? Why is it important to you as a person to make $1 million? And then we started going through all the things he wants to do, and we actually sat down. I'm like, all right, let's price it out. What do these things cost to get done? And he was making $250 already, right? And he was like, he realized he could do every single thing on his list tomorrow if he wanted to. He didn't have to get to $1 million. And when I asked him where the $1 million number came from, he was like, oh, somebody else in the office one day, they were asking goals, and that person said $1 million. And he's like, oh, that sounds like a good number. Plucked it out of thin air, essentially. It means nothing to him.
Yeah,
right?
because we pluck these numbers and titles and whatever. It's just something that we heard somebody, like you said, he heard somebody say it, or that sounds great. It just boggles my mind that we are so busy trying to reach something for somebody else, be it our parents, grandparents, siblings, whatever. And I'm a worry wart sometimes. We'll be up at night busting our ass and they're asleep. So it's like you're killing yourself for what? And they're at home sleep, or they're at their job barely, putting in 8 hours, and you're in school and class, at work, presenting, doing whatever. We have we hold ourselves to these unattainable goals that have nothing to do with our lives. It's very strange.
We give these things meaning and power over us that they shouldn't have, right? And like all these other coaches that approach this thing, not all of them, but a lot of coaches out there that approach these things, they assume that that's what the meaning that the people need to have, and they're like, oh, you should be focusing on this, and if you're not, you're wrong. And that's not the case, right? You can't assume everybody's the same and everybody's focus is different, is the same, right? There are right ways and wrong ways to do things, but goals, life goals, there's no right and wrong life goal, right? Everybody has their own things that mean something to them, and you can't assume that I can't assume what means something to me is going to mean something to somebody else. My first question to any client is always, what do you want to accomplish and why? Right? I don't assume that. I can't assume that. That doesn't make any sense for me to assume that, right?
That's a good. Look at me over writing my goals. Writing down like, what do you want to accomplish and why? Now, with your clients, excuse me, this is that type of show. Jesus, he's bringing Dr. Drew's classing up the joint tonight. With your clients, do you find that? Do you like larger groups, smaller groups, or do you like to start with one-on-one? Do you group them together after they've been with you for a while? Or do you just get a read on people's personalities as far as grouping and style-wise?
So a kind of a mix of everything, honestly. I mean, I do group classes and group coaching sessions, but I also primarily do one-on-one coaching, right? That's my primary thing. I do have offerings that are like group masterminds, that kind of stuff that I'll do if it makes sense, right? But I don't force people into group situations. The group coaching that I offer is mostly for people who don't have the money to afford one-on-one stuff, and so it makes sense to put them together and have those kind of sessions. And they're always like limited sessions, like maybe like 10 weeks at a time and that kind of stuff. But it's not an ongoing thing that happens. And so it really depends on what situation is.
Got it. I know you are a business coach, because I run into a lot, and I know we've had this conversation where people will think they do need a social media
Yep.
producer, but I'm like, honey, you need a business manager. I'm like, you would not believe. Well, you live in the big city. The number of conversations I have, and I look at people's socials, and I'm like, honey, all the content in the world not going to help you. I mean, I'm gonna do it, but I'm like,
yeah,
how are you getting? I'm like, going viral isn't. We talked about this with Trip. You should just come. I'm gonna just fly you here. Everybody wants to go viral. I call it popular and poor.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, honey, going viral is not gonna get this invoice paid. I'm like, what are you selling? Are you selling a lotion, a class, are you selling a house, content? I want to go viral, Damon. I want 1,000 more. I want 1,000 more followers. I was like,
yeah.
You don't talk to the followers you have now.
Right.
I'm looking at 10 ghost followers with no profile pic. You ain't posted since Valentine's Day, and you look. I don't. It just is. It's strange, but I run into people. I'm gonna just start referring you out. I tell people, you need a business coach. Like, I know a ton of smart people, but you have to do what you know how to do. I did a thing last week about staying in your lane.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I don't video myself.
Right.
Unless Tripp is on vacation, and then you'll know when he's going. I'm like, I don't work on the electricity in my house. It's things that I know that I'm great at, and there's things I'm like, let me call somebody. A lot of my friends and colleagues have businesses, but they don't know how to run a business. Does that make any sense? 100%. It's like, let's say you a candle maker. I won't try to offend anybody. You know how to make the best candles in the world, but you can't read an invoice sheet. I'm looking like, how many candles do you have? Or do you know where they're coming from? Are you making them? Are you outsourcing them? So I think sometimes, I mean, I get your take on it. Do people come to you realizing like, I'm in trouble? Or do they come like, I just want the money? They don't want the process.
Oh, both. Absolutely. I mean, the thing is, I think you said something very important, right? You can be extremely intelligent, be a very smart person. It doesn't say anything about your intelligence if you don't know how to run a business, right? Like it's not taught in schools anywhere, right? It's not taught anywhere really, like reputable, that for sure this is going to teach me how to run a business. And so if you don't know how to run a business, there's nothing wrong with that. People think it says something about their intelligence or their worthiness or anything like that, whether they know how to run a business or not. And it just doesn't, right? It's just something out there where if you need help, you need help. Just like you said, the electrician thing is great. And on the flip side, from people like you and I, where we're in the marketing or business coaching side of things or whatever, we're experts in our field, so we know our field really well, right? And somebody coming to us, they can come to us, and it happens a lot of times. People come to us, I think I need this. Okay, why do you think you need that? Again, the question comes up, why do you think you need that thing, right? Well, because that person has it, and that's what they do. Okay, well, what do you already have in place? Because I don't think you necessarily know this necessarily yet, right? And people might, they don't get offended by that question because generally, if they know what I'm asking, but sometimes people might be like, "Why are you asking me that?" Like it's, like I, of course I have this in place. Okay, well, tell me about it. And then they talk about it, and they really don't have that in place, right? These otherwise basic things that we know are basic, right? But they don't necessarily have that stuff in place, and they're looking at the wrong things. They're looking at metrics that don't mean anything, like followers, right? Like likes, right?
That mean nothing.
It means nothing, right? We know that, but they don't know that because that's what everyone else
remember
gauges.
The blue check? Remember we had this conversation?
Yep.
The blue check.
Blue check mark.
That got the crowd going. We had a crowd of like 10 people, and we're like, I don't even want the check no more because it means absolutely nothing. And I'm gonna piggyback on something that you said about them not people the knowing how to run the business isn't taught anywhere. When I tell you I have hit my head, I thought I was listen, I'm still learning how to invoice people correctly. I'm like, my accountant be looking at me like, what's this? I'm like, oh, you need actual receipt. Okay. So, but it's like, I'm so busy with the content and the meetings and the client meetings and the Zooms and what have you. Nobody knows that, oh, you got to pay for the parking permit, or you got to attend this meeting, or you got to do it's. If I could just do my job, it would be fantastic. But there are so many other things that come along with any business that if you could duplicate yourself and just give out manuals like, here you go, because everybody thinks that this is so easy what we all do. And I'm like, I've never worked harder in my life.
Yeah.
And I think I'm working smarter on some things, but then something will come along like, what's that? Like, I had a Zoom today that I knew about, but you know how you kind of push it to the side? And I was like, I got the reminder. I said, oh, shit. Do I got to sit there or do I have to talk? And I was like, oh, no, you baboon. You the president. You the chairman and president of the mortgage company, so you're going to have to talk. I was like, crap. So I sat there like, little did they know I had just whipped the Zoom up in the car. Like, but nobody sees that. They all see the glitz and the glamour of it. I'm like, you got to get what Gary said. You got to get in I'm in the mud more than I'm in the clouds for sure. So my advice has been really to a lot of my clients is like, you may need a manager. You need a business manager. I don't care if it's for 6 months. You need a business manager because I can see the potential in your business, but you need somebody else because I'm not a coach. You need somebody to come in and look at your business, because we were on a meeting. I was on a Chat GPT meeting or something. You get all these vendors.
Yeah.
Dhru, brother, the first thing I told this guy, how much are you? And who's your point person? Because it can't be me. I'm just, and everybody looked at me like I was crazy because I know what they were thinking. Oh, Damon will take this on. I was like, because what he was presenting was great. But I was like, we already have a couple systems in place. Here's your IT background. Who's merging these systems? Do they even go together? And then who's the point person for managing the systems? And are you just selling us this system? Who's the management point of it? What state are you in? Is it the same time zone as us? And who's your point person? They looked at me like, well, maybe we should circle back. I was like, because it comes down to, people are just adding stuff sometimes to their businesses instead of adding. I would rather have you than 4 vendors selling me, a product to get more clients, because I don't think more clients is a lot of people's issue. I think that we don't work with what we have sometimes.
Yeah. Absolutely. But I think to your point earlier, though, staying in your lane, right? Like knowing that self-awareness that you have to say, okay, I'm not the person to do this or manage this situation. I need to know how this works and who's going to handle this. That's not a question a lot of people ask. They'll be like, oh yeah, that sounds great. Cool. Let me buy this service or whatever. And then they don't even think about how am I going to implement this, right? And or the person selling them the implementation plan or whatever, and they don't necessarily know that that's not going to work with their system right now. So it's going to cost them an arm and a leg down the road, right? People, unfortunately, a lot of it comes down to beliefs, values, mindset, insecurity. Some people are like, oh, if I act like I don't know what this is, if I let them know that I don't know what this is, I'm less of a less of a business owner, less of a person, less of a qualified individual. So I can't let on that I don't know what this is, right? And it's like, no, dude, ask questions. Absolutely, ask all the questions you got. Ask them immediately, because if no one else is going to ask them for you, you can't assume that, right? And if you don't ask the questions and then you end up getting screwed over down the road, that's on you, man.
That's on you,
You
because
can't blame anybody.
people will take on all these services and vendor add-ons, and I told the guy, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but I don't want to tell you yes and then we can't pay you in November,
Right?
because I know this is your business. I don't want to hire Dr. Dhru and be like, I got $800, make it enough. No, I want to pay you what. That's a whole nother show. Do people try to do? I can't say that. That's a racist term. Do people try to pay the discount?
Oh yeah, they love people love asking for like, they're like, oh yeah, well, there's a discount. There's a couple things, right? There's a discount, but then there's also this kind of fishing for free services, right? Like they were like, oh, can I pick your brain on something? I'm like, yeah, you can pick my brain. Yeah, sure. Let's have a conversation. I always say yes to first conversations, right? I don't say no to anybody for 30 minutes, whatever. Let's see where that goes, right? But then they'll have the first conversation and they'll be like, okay, cool. Is it cool if I reach back out? I'm like, yeah, reach back out all you want. You know what I mean? But I'm not going to keep giving you all this. I didn't say this part, but I'm not going to keep giving you information after information after information, right? At a certain point, I'm going to send you an invoice. You know what I mean? Like
230 is this 60. So guess what? Right. This is an hour long. This was a consultation. And I know for you get it, because I look at business coaches and leadership coaches like doctors and like attorneys. When y'all open before I talk to my accountant and my attorney, but my attorney, we kind of have a weird relationship because he's also a client, but I still try not to bog him down. I have my questions ready. I'm like, A, B, C, D, and then that's it. Maybe sometimes just A, B, C, like that's it. But with the discount I had, and my audience knows me, so they already know. You might get talked about on the show. Usually, if you listen, buckle up for it. Triple have my back if I get jumped outside. I had a client. Are you sitting down? You got your headphones on for this?
Yeah. I'm not sitting. I'm standing up, but we'll see what happens.
Oh, you standing up? Who told me? Who sent this on the group text? Damon, we haven't had a chance to talk about your realtor, us using your realtor discount. What?
Who's us?
I said, who did this remix? Puffy? What the fuck? Who? Baby, listen. I don't get paid enough. I make decent money, but it's not like I have to watch my money at all times. Like, do I really need extra cheese on this or no? So when they said it in a group setting, people throw things out there to see what you're going to say. Like I was going to buckle. I said, oh, I don't give discounts. I do not cut my commission. Yeah. Because what am I cutting my commission for? I got to pay taxes. I got to pay bills. I got to pay trip. I got to pay the light bill. I got to pay car insurance. I'm like, you need to be giving me a tip. Talking about cutting my... Bro, I was sitting there like, I hadn't been asked in a while. Sometimes clients will hint around, like they'll hint around to it. Yep. But this one just flat out was like, oh, and they told me how much of a percentage my commission was. And I was like, you're correct. Right. But there's no state law that says, hey, Hanush, there's no state law that says, oh, your realtor has to help you close. What's happening is a lot of realtors are giving their clients money. And I'm like, we can only legally write off, I think it was $25 for a gift at closing. Anything else is out of your pocket. And I'm like, my clients know me. If you can't close, we'll wait till next year or 6
Yeah.
months because I don't live with you. This could be a new ceiling fan in my house. The discount is off, so you get the discount when people call. Have you ever had a client or a potential client? I'm sure you have, or let's see, where you like, oh, the hell with this, because like you saw them coming.
Yeah.
And they had their money, but you was like, it ain't this much money in the world to put up with you.
Oh yeah. So I have an asshole tax, right? That I
Wait,
implement.
goodbye.
There's a client, so I have my standard pricing, right? And that's also why I don't charge by the hour, by the way, because I don't want people to feel like I'm nickel and diming them or whatever. Like I do a retainer every month, right? And that gives us freedom to have conversations, whatever, ask questions, that kind of shit, right? But I have an asshole tax. So if I, other than my main normal thing, if I have a client coming to me and I know they're going to be, they're just an asshole in general, I will charge them more on purpose because I don't want to work with them, right? And the thing is, like, if it's a client where it's just not a good fit, that's different, right? Because it's not. Right. It's just I would refer them to another coach because they're not an annoying person or whatever, right? If it's like a person that's just not a good person, I'm not gonna curse them out and be like, you're a bad person. I'm just gonna be like, yeah, it's $3,000 a month to work with me, which is not, obviously. And so if anybody listens to this that gets that quote from me, then you probably can put two and two together.
They're like, wait a minute, you call her online too.
But no, seriously, like, it's like I don't want to work with those kind of people, right? And like you see, because those are also the people who kind of nickel and dime you are the same kind of people who are going to be like, oh, my invoice is 5 days late or 5 months late. Sometimes I had a client who didn't pay me for 7 months, and I'm sitting here like, bro, like, and he wanted to keep working. I'm like, dude, we're not meeting again until I get this like last month's invoice paid. We already had 2 meetings this month and we're done. Until last week gets paid. Last month we're not having any more meetings. I'm sorry.
I've run into a few where I'm like, I didn't used to be a prepay service. I'm a prepay service now. Yep. I'm like, oh no. Let me send your invoice today. Yep. Because before you step foot in this studio, don't even look at Trip. Don't even look at me. I'm like, And I hate to be like that, but I think that's worse than the discount. The no pay and slow pay.
Right. That's disrespectful though, right? Because it's like, dude, I got a business to run. I got bills to pay. I'm not trying to be, like, oh, it's not about greed. That's not about greed at that point, right? At that point, it's about I need to pay my bills. So I was depending on this money to come in, and you're taking my time, right? Which is infinitely more valuable than anything else out there.
Time, right? Time is such a thing now where I have learned to respect it more. As far as carving some time out for myself, making sure that I give my clients enough time and not babying them at the same time. It's like a tightrope walk at times. But that time thing, because like you, when you come up with somebody's bid, everybody's plan is different.
Right.
I'm sure you don't have a cookie cutter like, here you go. You actually have to sit up, see what type of business these people have, come up with a plan that that works, and then go to implement it. The time that it goes into creating the social media plan for you and the test, I test stuff out on my own page a lot. I'll test something out, see if it works. I'm like, I don't know about that one. And then I'll test them out again, but oh, that one works. I'm gonna try it on this new client. The amount of time that goes into that is part of business. So how can you want business coaching and you're not even respecting me as a businessman to pay? Because then it affects, I know for me, I try not to let it affect the delivery of what I'm giving you. But then if I have too many, like you said, an asshole tax, I'm like, I'm booked. I'm just booked because I'm very creative. And you're a photographer, videographer. When you're creative, you're like, did this model pay me my money yet? Or is she still stretched out over this balcony? Like, girl, I need my money.
Yeah, no, and the thing is, again, it's disrespectful, which I think is just one of the biggest issues, is because we're all small business owners, right? When you're a big corporation, you can write something off, whatever. I'm not saying that you shouldn't pay. There's ever a time when it's okay not to pay somebody, right? Because if they deliver, as long as they deliver the service they promised. Now, if they don't deliver that, that's a different conversation, right? If it's a disputed situation, that's different. I'm talking they deliver the service, like you delivered me social media services as exactly as I asked for them, and I'm sitting here like, hey, Damon, remember that invoice from 6 months ago? Yeah, I'm gonna get that to you, in 6 months maybe. And you're like, man, like, no, that's disrespectful. It's a waste of your time and energy and disrespecting the work you do, right? And it's a waste of. It's just I lose credibility as a person. Like I would never do that to somebody. You know what I mean?
Right. It's a very slippery slope. Oh,
Yeah.
I got a question for you about your business.
Oh.
So and this may be I'll try to shorten down a bit. When the digital age hit and you went from coaching in person to coaching online and Zooms and what have you, did you find you liked it better, or did your audience receive you better, or were you like, crap, I wish they were in my face more, or I need to travel to them, or this group really did well in the Zoom, let me keep going this way? How did you navigate that change?
Yeah, that's a good question. It was interesting. So before COVID, right? Like I love coaching in person. I actually hated coaching online. Like I was that guy. I was like I want to meet my clients in person, right? Because I'm a body language person. I'm a vibe person, right? Like you can read body language. You can see things you don't see online. Like right now, I can't see below a certain point, right? So I can't see if you're shaking your leg right now. I can't see if you shift too much in your seat or whatever. And you look at different things. My old mentor actually told me because he coached only on the phone. And he was like, you should try different kinds of coaching and you'll experience it differently and you'll notice different things. It's not bad or better or worse. It's different. And I'm like, nah, it's worse. I don't like it. Right. So then COVID hits and I'm like, I don't have a choice. I have to do it on Zoom. So I'm doing stuff on Zoom. And I was like, okay, I started doing like, this is actually not that bad because you do notice different things, right? It's a whole different world. Right. And I still do prefer coaching in person because again, like I said, there's more you can notice, but there's different things you notice online, right? Like you notice if somebody is distracted easily. You notice if somebody's kind of like, it's easier to focus on somebody when you're right in front of you. If you're on a computer and you're getting different things, well, then you realize, is this person really prioritizing our work together or not, right? Because when you're in a room with somebody, there's nothing else around and just you and that person, they can act like they're prioritizing stuff. And then when it comes down to actually doing the work or whatever after the session, which because most times it's always kind of homework or some sort they got to do, you'll see if they actually take the actions or not. But in the session, you can actually notice right away, is this person focusing on me or are they focusing on something else? Are they getting distracted? Are they on their phone? Things that they wouldn't do in person, they will do online, right?
Right.
And you can call them out a lot quicker and be like, hey, so I noticed this is what's going on right now. Like, what's that about? Is this a priority for you or not? Right. And that's a grounds for coaching. It's not, it sounds like it might be a little bit kind of, insulting or whatever, but it's not. It's really just an observation in the way you do it. And it can coach someone around that. And because that tells you something about their priorities, about who they are. And they can let you know, like, oh, actually I have ADD or whatever, or I'm just a dick. You know what I mean?
You know what? And the reason I ask that is because I'll catch myself, my ADHD, I'll catch myself really focused sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And then like go back to VCon. That's so overwhelming, but in a good way to me.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. It was colors and music. And I was just like, I could have stayed there spinning in the circle all day. But then if you sit me in a room with just a book or a TV show, I'll watch Netflix until the lady comes on. Are you still sitting here? So I'm kind of on both ends of the spectrum where if you leave me alone, I'm focused. But if you stick me outside, like at a fair or something, get out of here. I'm going to be all over the place. I was the child who may have needed a leash. I'm like, where is he at? Like going. So I was very interested to see what you thought about the coaching piece, because the coaching that I've had here, they put us in groups. I'm not groups, but it's like a room full of people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I don't really like him. So I don't hope we really don't be in a smaller group together. Or it's just like, I don't think it's a one way to do it, but I know they got to stop grouping people together. I'm like, because, coaching, you get to be almost a psychiatrist where people are like, well, today my child slapped me, but I'm going to keep doing my work. So it's like when they put the managers and the leaders at one conference in one room and y'all all slapping high fives, and then the workers back at work are like, I'm so glad they gone because shit, I can breathe now. It's like we as a society coach the people who don't need coaching.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I don't think it's so much that they don't need coaching as much as there's different kinds of coaching for different people, right? And if we don't take the time to differentiate between coaching for executives and then the top level people and coaching the people at the mid level and the bottom levels, we're doing them a disservice, right? And I think that sounds like what you're talking about. And if this group coaching, it works for some people, it doesn't work for everybody, right? The same thing with one-on-one coaching, right? One-on-one coaching can work for anybody as long as they have the coaching mindset and whatever. That's a longer conversation, but you have to attack things from different angles, right? And there's some people who just don't benefit from group coaching because of the fact that they don't feel one as open to be able to talk about stuff. I mean, what you said about therapy, it's similar, but very different from therapy, right? But it's very similar in the sense that I always tell everybody, every client, potential client, otherwise that I talk about coaching, the coaching relationship is a deep relationship, right? The best coaching relationships are the deepest ones because you're going to have the closest relationship with your coach other than your significant other or your therapist, maybe even more, honestly, because of the fact that you have to be 100% honest. If you're not honest, it's like with the doctor, right? You go to the doctor's office. If you don't tell them that you're on, drugs of some sort or whatever, they could give you a prescription or something that could kill you with that interaction. So they need to know those kind of things, right? Not quite to the same level. Obviously, we're not going to do anything that involves life or death situations coaching wise. But if we don't know what's going on in your head, we don't know how to help you properly, right? So if you're not honest about about your fears, not honest about your beliefs, not honest about things like that, then we can't help you properly. And in a group setting, you really can't always be that honest about those kind of things, right? Especially if you're at a mid-level position and you're there with your manager or the CEO of the company in the room. How are you going to be like, oh yeah, I'm really, I have a really bad interaction with my manager because he's not a good manager when he's sitting right next to you? You're not going to do that.
Right, like, I go to my car on lunch break because I want to bond with none of y'all. Like,
right.
Oh, thanks for sharing.
Yeah, and it's just, yeah, good.
No, sorry. I just thought it was very weird. I only worked in corporate a few times, but even when I was a teacher, they would have us in there with the principal, and we all be looking at each other like,
yeah.
Hey, I love the kids and I love my job. And we'll be like, good. Like, I'm ready to go home. Or when they were doing the colors, or if you were doing this animal, and I'm like,
but see, that's the coach's fault. That's that consultant or coach's fault because, and honestly, that's probably them just trying to get money. I'll be honest with you, right? Like either that or it's still their fault, but either that or the client said we have to do it this way, and that's still their fault for not pushing back. Because I'll tell you honestly, if a client comes to me and says we want to accomplish X and we want to do it this way, and that's not the two are not conducive, I will 100% tell them, and that gets me in trouble in such as like I don't get all the business that I could get because of that. But that's just what it is. I'm not going to do something that's not going to give you benefit, right? It doesn't make sense. It's just wasting your money at that point.
Where's my button there for that one? Oh no, wrong button. Hold on, y'all. No, wait, this is my good side. Wait. I love that about you because sometimes the people, 60% of the time, people are in there for the money. But I'm like, how do you sleep at night? Like, what's like? No, but I knew. I'm with you. I'm a vibe in person.
Mm-hmm.
I knew when I met you in person, even from us talking and emailing and texting or whatever. I knew. I like him. I knew because me and Trip never talk. We like the kids at school like this. I don't like them like me. We just keep on going. I knew we've never had a person with us. We were always like this.
Wow.
Ooh, ooh, ooh. And you know what? I know you were good people. If Trip talks to you, because he's usually like this. When I tell, we're the two mean guys at school. I'm usually gonna talk to you first. Trip usually waits like a day. Like when I started talking to you, I was like, oh, okay, he passed the test. Here we are. So when I knew you were a coach, but I was like, your clients are lucky to have you. They are very, very lucky to have you because, as you know, business has changed.
Yes.
My God. I mean, my God. I tell people for my business and their business, I don't care if you hate social media. You better start posting something about your business because these 20-year-olds who grew up with this, as Gary says,
It's their whole reality.
They're not asking how to set the Zoom up and what StreamYard. They like, they on one hand, click, 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 boom, done. I'm like, I'm 48. Jesus. I know if I know how to do it, y'all 30-year-olds better be figuring it out. Cause I'm like, these kids are on our heels. Going is a day where you can be like, oh, I'm gonna just be a coach and not post or not put a video out or not have a podcast and I'm like you and Trip and a lot of other friends. I'm not begging you for the business.
Right.
I need 5 solid clients, and now I'm at 3. So
Nice.
I really need 2 more solid clients. Y'all hear that out there? I need 2 more solid clients to be like, oh, I'm all set, because these clients are ideal. They're different from each other, and they know the importance of what and the value of what I bring to them. Whereas some clients, I'm begging you to do a podcast. Oh shit, the hell, like, you know what I mean? I'm like, bro, it's a couple $100. Like, your wife got a $10,000 purse on, and you talking about, oh, you're too expensive, or oh, I don't know, I'm scared to do a podcast. I'm like, do you think confession time, coach, I did not want to do Wine Wednesday at first. I was like, what? I gotta be somewhere every week. This is gonna be like a job. No. Now I'm telling you, when I go places, people are like, I love Wine Wednesday. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
You watch? They're like, yes, you're so funny. I love it. I'll look forward to it. You are entertaining on the way out of town. We said we're gonna put 2 Wine Wednesdays together. We'll listen to Damon and laugh the whole way. So you just never know in this business what people, where your new audience is, where the next client is. We know that sometimes your client may be on Facebook. Sometimes it may be from a convention you're having in downtown DC or the DMV area, or it may be from somebody who heard you from somebody else. You never know where your next client or opportunity is coming from. So why not give yourself the at-bats? If your business coach, Dr. Dhru, tells you, hey, you need to go to the meeting after work, even though you don't want to go to it, go to the networking meeting at 6 at the bar across from the office, because that office may be shutting down next year. They only taking the top 5 people.
Yeah.
You just never know. I know for Michigan, we were big 3 for auto. Now we're being more known as a tech and battery hub. So you have to be open to having a business leadership coach, because you need to have your skills. Give me advertising for your business. You need to have your skills sharp, because gone is the day where you got the degree from Georgetown. You're like, I'm gonna ride this until the wheels fall off.
It doesn't work anymore.
These jobs don't even care about our degrees no more.
No.
That damn that dust ball paperweight I got in my house. I'm like,
yeah. No, I mean, the government jobs are the only ones who care about degrees anymore. But what you said is, again, extremely important, man. And if anybody listen to that, rewind this and listen to that part again, because there is, and I said rewind because that shows how old we are. Because nobody's like, what does he mean rewind? What does that even mean?
Rewind?
Yeah, no, go back, click the little thing and go back a little bit, 30 seconds back. But listen to what Damon just said, because it's extremely important. Having a presence on social media is more than just doing that. Like, it's getting it out there. You never know where your next client's going to come from. But if you do it, you got to look at the metrics too, right? Like, you never know who's listening, right? I'll tell you examples. Like today, I was talking to my social media person, right, on my team, and she's like, "Oh, your video, this one video that I did a while back, it's not like literally like 2020, has gotten like 56 views in the last like 2 weeks." I'm like, "Where the hell did that come from?" And she's like, "Zambia," and I'm like, "Zambia? What the hell is that? I don't know what. Like, I don't even know why that happened. I did nothing to promote this video, but you never know. Like, that kind of stuff happens. You got to be listening, because social media also can give you feedback. Is what you're selling? Is there a market for what you're selling?
Come on.
You know what I'm saying? Are there people that care about what you're talking about? If not, then maybe pivot, maybe find opportunities to say, okay, well, here's what this is what I know. This is what I can do. Maybe there's another audience out there that does what I want to do. You know the story about the 3M stuff, right? Like the sticky stuff.
Yes.
Like, it wasn't meant to be everything like sticky notes, like Post-it notes, right? It wasn't meant to be what it is right now, what it's used for. I forgot what the original use was, but they made it by accident, and they were like, oh, well, we can actually just use this sticky stuff to put
Yeah,
Post-its.
because they were a huge chemical company. That was an
Right.
accident.
Yeah. And it's just it's stuff like that. If they weren't open to pivoting and saying, hey, there's actually might be a need for this out there that we didn't anticipate, we would never have Post-its, and that company would not exist, right?
Oh God, it just boggles my mind. Like, I know people who will not do a podcast, who won't go on a podcast, they won't talk to a group of people. They won't go to anything. And I'm like, well, what do you want me to do? By you,
Magic.
let's say I do a social media class, and I'm like, all right, this class, y'all gonna have Dr. Dhru on. I'm not saying nothing. This is what he's gonna talk about, because you give a self-confidence talk that I can't give.
Well, that's part of it too. Is that it's fear. A lot of times it's fear that's holding you back, right? It's not. It's you may know the exact right thing to do, but you might just be scared to do it. And there's some belief that's probably false. 99% of the time, it's a false belief, but it's a perception that's holding you back from whatever you want to accomplish. Like your fear of getting the podcast was holding you back from reaching all the people you're reaching right now. Like, dude, I remember walking around VCon with you, and people you didn't know at all were like, oh, hey, what's up, it's Damon, oh my god, DJ Realty. And it's like, how, hey, I don't know you, but what's up, you know?
They're like, hey, girl.
Yeah, exactly, right? But that's because you put the effort in and put it out there, right? If you didn't do that, you'd be missing half the people out there, more than half, who recognize you, right? And for a realtor and for somebody in social media, like, you put your money where your mouth is. You're like, okay, I'm a realtor and I got a social media following, and I show you how to do social media because I do it myself, because you live and breathe it with Trip and everything. And because you guys know what you're doing, you show the world how to do it. And if they see the results you get and still don't want to do it, there's a limiting belief there that they got to get over. And now the question is, are they willing to get over it? Maybe not, right? If they're willing to work on it and get over it, then great, right? Then you can hire somebody. But if you're not willing to work on it, if you don't want to make the change, don't waste money hiring a coach. It's going to be a waste of money.
I love it. And like you said about putting it out there and doing it, I admire you for, don't tell anybody, I'm really an introvert sometimes. I would have never did what you did to me at VCon. I would have, it would have taken me, I was very popular in high school, but popular out of fear of not being popular, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So for what you did of us knowing each other, but not knowing each other, I would have maybe waved at you and be like, oh, great, nice talking to you. And kept right on going like, he might be a serial killer. I don't know.
No,
but by you doing that, it pushed me to, and I went, when we got back to the Airbnb, I said, you know what? Get out your own damn way and say hi to everybody. And you think you saying hi to everybody, but you're really not. I was like, nope, Damon, I'm gonna wave, I'm gonna smile, I'm gonna get out of my own way, because sometimes we'll be in an environment at home, we're looking like, what you want? Who's that? Yep. What you want? I was like, you at VCon, this is nerd heaven. You are home. You basically know everybody here. Start waving, smiling, shaking hands, because just like when Gary retweeted that, remember I texted you, I was like,
yeah.
I was like, bro, we done went viral. You're like, David, which one? I like this one. You just never know who's watching. That one retweet would change a life. They're like, oh, I didn't know he was a business coach. Oh, he be with Damon in there. I might hire him. Boom. Not to have nothing to do with me. It's just, you just never know where it comes from. We were in the room. I don't know where you and Trip were at. I don't know where y'all was at. I don't know. I was in the room and I was talking to D-Rock, and then Trip and I were together, and I took a picture with Craniac. D-Rock retweeted it on his page. I didn't even know. I was like, damn, you just, you know how you in the moment and don't know like what's going around, but it's just putting yourself out there. I have to remind myself, shake the hand, Damon, smile, get the picture, shake the hand, smile, get the picture. How are you? How are you doing? Sometimes I have to get out of my own way to get that. So I admire you. I do. And I don't admire a lot of people. So I was like, look at him. But I love a go-getter. I was like, oh, he a go-getter like me. He is playing chess and not fucking checkers. He was like, and not to say that you did it on purpose.
No, yeah.
You were like, listen, Damon really know Gary. Let me sit my ass right here, and I'm gonna just get caught up in this tailwind. Because remember, we were sitting there, and I was like,
at the field day.
I was like, Dhru, I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna make sure you get him. It just may not be today because I don't do, neither one of us do the whole I'm gonna chase you and the swarm. I call it here come the swarm. I was like, nope. Here's another, because I forgot what we've been talking about at the picnic table. It wasn't that.
No, it was business. We're talking about business and stuff.
Talking about business. So when the last swarm came, he was like, DJ, I said, this is it. Let's go. Yep. This is it. Let's go. It's like when you met his brother AJ.
Yep.
You walk past, I said, get back here. Come here. I know that AJ he runs Vayner Sports. What do athletes need? A coach, a motivator. They need somebody who's not in their field, who doesn't look at them as a paycheck to motivate. You never know what conversation, what email. Y'all both on the East Coast. You can go to New York all the time. It's athletes in these, so I try not to be that person that's like, oh, it's all about me, DJ Realty, and no. I'm like, you want Trip? There go Trip. You want Dhru? Here go Dhru. I just want to be in the room. I don't have to be. If one of us gets VIP, I'm scooting in like this.
Oh, you're absolutely in. If I get VIP, you guys both are absolutely in, man. I mean, it goes both ways, though. I'll be honest. Like, I respect and admire you guys too, both of you, because on the flip side, right? And I don't know if this came across at all, but I was not obviously. I was nervous to talk to you guys and hang out. I was like, I hope I'm not like crowding them or whatever. I texted you too. I was like, I hope I wasn't crowding you. But you guys also were open to meeting other people and hanging out and stuff like that too, right? So that goes both ways. As much as it is like somebody saying like, oh, I'm gonna make sure I hang out with Damon because I want to hang out with him. You guys are cool guys too, and we had enough in common in terms of business and whatever, and our beliefs about growth and small business. But on top of that, we also were just it gelled because we both were open to it, right? We both were open to saying, you know what, these are the good people, and let's keep those connections going, and we believe the same things. Like the same way you're saying about highlighting other people. I'm the same way, right? My channel is all about getting other business owners and people that tell good stories or have amazing stories of leadership, whatever. And you know what I mean? That this whole thing, this conversation right now came out of us talking online like 2 years ago, like 3 years ago. You know what I mean? Like, just
isn't that crazy?
It's insane. Like it was during the pandemic, during 2020, we first started interacting on Twitter.
Yeah,
we were both commenting on stuff about Gary.
Said, he's smart.
I was like, oh, this dude's getting out there. I saw the Wine Wednesday. I was like, yo, this dude's getting out there. I love it. And actually, I don't know if you know this, but one of the reasons that I started my channel was Gary, but also you and the Wine Wednesdays, because I was like, yo, man, I gotta get out there and do it. I got respect for what Damon's doing.
Aww.
And you know what? I'm gonna get out there and start doing some stuff out there too. Because, dude, before the pandemic, I was like, I want to do YouTube. I want to do videos, but I record stuff. I'm like, that's not good enough. That's not good enough. That's not good enough. Right. You know how it is.
Yeah, of course.
And then when the pandemic hit, I'm like, all right, I got no excuses. I'm stuck my ass home now. I can't do shit. So I'm just going to start recording videos and put them out there. And that's how that started. Right. Because it was just like, I saw the stuff you were doing. I saw stuff Gary's doing. I saw, all those stuff. And I was like, it doesn't have to be perfect. Right. It's just got to get out there and see what happens. And
oh no, yeah, the perfect. Oh, hey, Sip, he loves this. The perfect is so unattainable. Some days my hair isn't cut. I'm hungry. I'm sleepy. Hair? Wait a minute, y'all. Eject the co-host that point. Yeah, I have to shave this stuff when it grows out. It just, it's not a good look. And I'm like, yeah, no, my barber has to shave this. But yeah, it's just some days you just have to.
Yeah.
My sister always says sometimes it's just you. People don't understand. You can have a business with 20 or 30 staff members. Sometimes it's just you. So I really, really, really appreciate you. I forgot to ask. How should people get in touch with you in case they don't want the free consultation, in case they really want to book you? Because I'll have Trip. When he edits it, I'll have him put it on the on the show.
Yeah, no, so my email address is dhru, so my first name at Nyan Leadership, NAYAN leadership.com, or any of my socials. Reach out to me anytime. But I always do it free. So the initial consultation is always free. The first 30-minute call, always free. I don't charge for that because not everybody knows what they're getting into, and I wanted to make sure that they know what they're getting into before they pay for anything. I don't do that whole pay for shit before you know what it is nonsense. But to that point about the hair thing though, I used to think I had to shave before every video, right?
Oh, wow.
Because I mean, dude, I'm brown, right? So anybody looks at me, if I got a beard, I look like a terrorist, straight up.
Do
You know what I mean? It's just so I went to Jordan to the Middle East with some friends. Everybody in Jordan thought I was Arab. Everybody in Egypt thought I was Arab. Everybody in Turkey thought I was
You
Arab.
don't look to me. You don't look Indian. If you came here, they would think you were Lebanese.
I'm miscellaneous, bro. I blended in a lot of places. Like I went to DR. They thought after VCon, right? Remember I told you I was going right after
DR?
VCon.
Can we talk about DR online, or we need to talk about it after the show?
We can talk about nothing crazy. Nothing
okay, you
like
still engaged? Yeah, so you.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I'm still engaged. Nothing like that happened. No, all was good. But no, everybody in DR thought I was Hispanic. They thought I was Puerto Rican or from from DR.
You know what? I have a friend like that. He's y'all about the same color, same hair texture. He says, Damon, it just depends on where I am, where they start talking to me. I'm like, he's like, no. I don't know what you're talking about. Well, yeah, I know when you got the DR, they were like this.
Yo, this dude thought I was lying. Like, cause he came up, he started speaking Spanish to me. I don't know what he said. He said like a lot of shit. I'm like, whoa, time out. I'm like, no habla español. He's like, yo, mentiroso. Like thought I was lying to him. Like, and I was like, no, dude, for real. Like, I don't know what you're saying to me right now.
I'm not denying my heritage, but it's not this one.
Right, exactly. It's funny because I blend everywhere except the U.S. and Asia.
No, what?
Well, East Asia.
The U.S. is supposed to be a melting pot. You would blend in Michigan, so.
Yes, there you go.
So they'd be like, "You work in IT?" Like,
exactly.
No.
You work for IBM? Funny thing, I used to work for Dell. Not customer support, but I used to work for Dell as an IT person, right? And so when I tell people I work for Dell, they're like, "Oh, customer support?" I'm like, fuck you. Fuck you. Like, because all those Indian people work for Dell, the call centers and back in India.
Yes, I'm not gonna get myself in trouble with the call center calls. I'm like this. We'll call me like this. Like, are you here or where are you?
Bro, my boy back in college, right? He called Dell customer support. He's Indian, and he's I don't speak fluent Hindi anymore. I used to back in the day, but he speaks fluent Hindi, and so he called the dude, and they're like, "Hello, this is Jerry," and like Jerry's not your real name, bro. Like, come on, like whatever, right? And so he started speaking Hindi to the guy because I guess the guy's boss didn't speak Hindi, so the guy starts speaking back to him, and it's like his name was like Prakash, and like he's like the working conditions here are horrible. Like he's talking to him in Hindi and stuff. Yeah, basically. It was hilarious, man.
That's just like, okay, not to ask you. This is gonna be a terrible question, but we're brothers.
Yeah.
People are like, Damon, you should hire one of them Indian assistants. They're gonna do everything. I'm like, that's kind of racist, y'all. I'm like, we're paying them $5 an hour to do. If we just want to hear, be $25 an hour. I'm like,
I mean, here's what I would say. I in some ways it is racist. Depends on who says it and how they say it. But I will say this: there are different places around the world that have different standards of living, right? And that have different costs of living. And $5 for us here is nothing, right? It's like a cup of coffee. Over there, though, it's a big deal.
Okay.
So I don't look down on people who hire remote assistants, because as long as it's a fair wage wherever they are, right? That's what I would say. If it's a fair wage where they're at and they can make a living and be successful and be relatively happy with that wage and where they're at, I don't think there's a problem with that, because again, that's just the cost of doing business, right? If you're giving them an unfair wage where they're based,
yeah,
because the same way we can't take our principles and our mentality and our perception of the world and force it on anybody else, we can't take our cost of living and assume that that's going to be okay for somebody else, right? Just like, I mean, why else would you hire? Like, think about it, same thing with hire somebody from the Midwest, right? If the Midwest cost of living is much lower than the East Coast or West Coast, right? If I'm hiring somebody from the Midwest to do something and they're charging 2/3 of what it costs somebody over here to do it, am I doing a disservice to them by paying them what they're asking for?
Food for thought there. I never thought about it that way. So I'm going to call them back like, you're hired.
This is part of the whole DEI discussion, bro. People don't want to have
Right.
this discussion, but it's the reality situation. There's no absolutes in DEI, right? That's people think there's an absolute way to do it, and that's a whole nother 5 shows we can have about that conversation.
But on the next part 2 of you hired me for what?
Because we talked about this in VCon. Remember that whole
story? Oh, here we are. Because I looked up what I talked with some people and looked it up of what I do and what I charge here in Michigan. Mm-hmm. My God, I'm a discount. I am the bargain. I looked and was like, wait 1 minute. What? I know you lying. Like, what? You paying what?
Yep.
I moved to the East Coast. If y'all just have to get control of them rats. Listen, Linda. When I say listen, Linda, you're gonna call me elephant that day because you just talking about want to see me run fast. I'm like,
well, to be fair, they're not everywhere. They're in the city, but they're not like all the places they used to be. They used to be a lot worse than they were because they were doing massive construction in DC. They're always doing construction.
They dig them up, yeah.
They dig them up. That's what happens.
Okay, good. I always look down when I'm in the East Coast. I'll be looking like this. What's that? What's that?
The water in Michigan's so bad that kills all the rats. So
wait, Trip, get him out of here. No. At least we have some water.
We have the ocean.
And you can't drink that goop.
That's true. It's true.
You cannot.
No, DC water is not good either, though, to be honest.
No,
it's not even.
That East Coast water is like this.
Yeah, no, it's real. It's bad.
It's like a no. I got to text you when we get off of here because I have some things I couldn't ask you online.
All right, fair enough.
That's okay. But thank you for coming on. I'm going to do your show. And thank you for being so flexible today. My brain has been since Memorial Day, I have been on a hamster wheel where I'm just like, what? Yeah.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure, honestly, man. Seriously.
Thank you so much. I'm gonna listen to all your shows because we will really listen before like, yeah, he right. Yeah, that is it. Because I'm a learner too. I learn from listening and watching other people's podcasts. You'll be like, oh, I should have shut it up on that part. Oh, I should have really dug in and asked that other question. So I learned a lot from watching and listening to people's shows. So thank you. I love the show. I really, really do. And side note, he has a new episode out where for God, I forgot his first name. Don't kill me. He has a new episode out where the son is at his grandma's house taking a bath.
Oh, Brandon.
I thought I was 6 years old at my grandma's house.
I watched it. Yo, it was so funny, dude. Oh my God.
That was my childhood. You got dropped at your grandma's house. You like this. Are you using dish soap for the bubbles? This isn't Mr. I had such a traumatic flashback that listen.
Bro, it's so real though, man.
I can't wait to have him on. Like, who told you my life story? Like, I think that's what
you saw my interview with him, right?
Yes. Yeah. I think that's what makes it so hilarious. It's like, who told you my business? Because it is, I just started screaming. When I saw the tub, I knew what time it was. I was like, my God, this is my grandmama. Like, grandma, get out I can bathe myself. So yeah. Yeah, so
he's such a good dude though too, man. Oh my God,
good dude.
And speaking, I know you got to end, but real quick.
No, go ahead. It's my show. It's okay. I picture by the hour.
On the same line as what we talked about before about people coming up to other people and like being outgoing and doing that. That's what he and his sister did.
Yes,
right. That was amazing. Like, I mean, we were just because me, you and Trip were in our own world. We're talking about stuff, whatever, and they came over and just introduced themselves. And we had such an amazing conversation and just. Good people, man. Like you would never know that he's that dude and he's so successful and doing so well and just such a humble guy and like so friendly and so cool. So shout out to Brandon. Thanks, man, for being on my show and hope you get on DJ's show soon because that's just that's awesome.
And I talking about the vibes and putting it out there that just like attracts like. That was such a random but meant to be meeting. If you would have told me looking at them that he was the brains and created that show, I would have been like, I know you lying. Like it's just, and it's so funny to hear him talk
Yeah.
He
Yep.
well,
It's
he
the same
is the
voice. It's the
voice,
voice.
but it's like he sounds like his older brother, but it's
Yeah.
him because he's portraying the child. I just laugh. I can't take him seriously
Yep.
because I just tired. I mean, I watch it every day, and just to know that I know him,
Yeah.
and just to know that he really worked his ass off to get that.
Absolutely.
It just is just such a random in the right place at the right time. Just everything. It's just, I tell people everything is so meant to be. Just live your life, have fun, always say hi. Hey, how are you? Because you just never know. You just absolutely never know. So
And he might come to Comic-Con, by the way. He might come down to Comic-Con to Baltimore to share my table.
Nice.
Yeah.
He should.
Yeah. I think
Because if people know who that is, they'll be like, wait a minute. I know you. That's going to be fantastic. Well, I can't wait to do your show now. I can't wait to have him on my show.
Yeah.
We'll have Trip on your show because Trip likes to talk too. Don't think today. Today was a fluke. Trip is a character. Characters welcome. Listen.
Absolutely.
Well, you know him, so yeah.
Yeah.
He is for sure characters welcome. This will be everywhere, and then the link will be available, and I'll get that to you for sure. But we're live. Well, you know how StreamYard works for everybody else. We're live everywhere. But no, this has been fantastic. I'm for sure going to text you tonight. When I get home. I have to hear about DR, the unedited version.
Absolutely. I'll tell you all about it.
Right. But you said you behave. I can see you behaving. Yeah, look at my face. Yeah, you behaved. We
behaved, but it was still fun. It was a lot of fun. It was crazy. It was like it was a nuts place, man. DR's beautiful country.
Yeah, you looked up and was like, I'm leaving? Okay, well, it's places like that, you get there and you blink and you going home.
Yeah.
Those are the best. But thank you so much, Dr. Dhru.
Thank you.
Guys, his contact information will be on my pages and they'll be on the video. So if you need any type of coaching, personal, business, inspirational, he is the guy. If he can deal with me, he can deal with anybody. Thank you again so much. And as always, everybody, here's hoping that your open house will close soon. Bye, everybody.
See you guys. Take care.
See you. Thanks, Dhru.